You're listening to the 20% Podcast, powered by the 20% Collective, a community of trailblazing women financial advisors redefining what it means to build a firm on your terms. No fluff, no ego. Just bold conversations, fresh perspectives, and real-world strategies to help you lead, grow, and own your success. This is the 20% Podcast.
Hi, I'm Lauren Sekerke, founder of Left Field Insights and co-founder of the 20% Collective. Today's episode feels like a full circle moment. I first met my guest, Carli Smith, more than a decade ago when we both worked at Dimensional Fund Advisors. Carli was part of the portfolio management team and spent years educating Dimensional's institutional and advisor clients on retirement solutions, experience that gave her a solid foundation for her eventual move into wealth management. After her time at Dimensional, Carli spent several years at an established RIA in Austin before taking a major leap in February 2024 to launch her own firm, Signal Wealth Advisors. And since then, her growth has been remarkable. She's already approaching $150 million in assets under management, fueled by client loyalty, smart decision-making, and a clear vision for the type of firm she wants to build. This conversation gets into the real story behind that growth, including the decisions that mattered, the support systems she leaned on, and the intentional way she's building a business that reflects her values. You'll learn what convinced Carli it was the right time to start her own firm, even with the uncertainty, why she launched as an IAR instead of immediately registering her firm as an RIA, the operational choices that made her transition seamless for clients, how she handled the immediate surge of clients who wanted to follow her, the key factors behind her firm's rapid growth, the support networks she seeks out to keep herself grounded, why she believes financial planning is an ideal career for women, and what needs to change to bring more of them into the profession. If you're an advisor thinking about independence, scaling, or simply building a firm more aligned with your values, Carli's story is sure to resonate. So with that, let's dive in. Here's my conversation with Carli Smith. So Carli, what inspired you to launch Signal Wealth Advisors?
For me, I always wanted to be a part of building something or build it myself. That was always a goal of mine. And I knew that taking this step was a big chance. You know, you're taking a chance on yourself. You're betting on yourself 100%. It's risky. You're not sure what the future holds. But I knew that it was now or never. And I made the decision to move forward with it. I often tell people who've asked about it, sometimes in life you come across these decisions that you have to make, and you just know with full conviction this is absolutely the right decision for you to make. And I knew that. I knew without a doubt, but it did not take away the fear and the uncertainty that came with it. But I knew I had to do it or else I would totally regret it.
So having gone through that experience, what advice would you offer other female advisors who are considering independence?
Organization is the most important thing you could possibly give yourself. You have to be incredibly organized. Immediately clients started calling me after they found out that I had left. So being prepared for that to happen and being prepared to be able to take them on is crucial. Fortunately for me in that situation, I made a decision very early on that I was going to, instead of registering Signal Wealth as an RIA immediately, I would operate as an IAR, Signal Wealth would, underneath another RIA. So I was able to immediately start working with clients. There was no delay. I was able to leverage their team, their resources. I really feel that was a huge, big, important piece of the puzzle. Because of the number of clients that came with me, roughly 90% ended up coming with me over the course of 10 months or so. I couldn't have done it as a solo person. There's no way. I would have, not had any sleep. My family would have been very upset. But I did work very, very long hours. So, having people that support you and having people that are rooting for you, it's super important just to have all that and to just be super organized, because if you're not, things are going to get lost. Details are going to get lost. So that's my biggest takeaway from that, is leaning into the help that you can get and leaning into your hyper focus on things.
Okay, so when registering as an IAR versus an RIA, how do those early decisions differ?
So for me, it was really important that my clients had a seamless experience. I wanted what they had prior to still feel and look the same in terms of the technology, the custodians, all of that. So when I ultimately made the decision to operate this way, those pieces needed to already be there. So, utilizing Orion and Wealthbox and Charles Schwab and Fidelity and all of that. That was super important. I did look at other firms as an alternative, and that was a big reason for me not proceeding in that way, was because it would be a complete change of technology, and I just wasn't willing to put energy into it at that point in time.
So what are the pros and cons of operating as an IAR instead of an RIA? And when would it make sense to register as an RIA?
So I'll clarify real quick that I do have independence, which is, I think, an important thing to mention. I don't have to do anything other than abide by compliance rules, as we all do. Does it make sense to eventually register the firm as an RIA? It probably will at some point. There are pros and cons to both, right? The biggest pro was that I had the seamless ability to start working with my clients. And it's still showing that there's benefit in that. I find benefit in collaboration. I'm a part of several different study groups. I utilize my network big time for expertise and resources, just because I don't have it in-house under one roof at Signal Wealth Advisors. I also love sharing the cost of things. That's a big deal. For me to be able to share cost, it allows me to free up revenue to then hire people that are going to serve my clients very well. So right now, that all makes sense. At some point, we probably will go fully independent in the sense of registering the firm. But we, A, need the bandwidth, and B, the revenue needs to call for it to be able to cover the technology costs associated with it. Who knows when that will happen, if it will happen in terms of, every year we're reevaluating, or I would actually say every 6 months we're reevaluating. Does it make sense to continue operating this way? And in my thoughts are, as long as it continues to make sense for my clients, then I'm going to proceed with it. If it ever no longer makes sense for that, then it's time to move on.
How do you approach hiring as a solo practice owner?
I'm a big believer in every minute counts, and you have to optimize those minutes, and you have to look at where your value is, what your worth is, what your time is worth, and should you outsource something? So that is constantly something that I'm thinking through. And in particular, we know as a team now, we're probably going to have to hire somebody next year. And the question is, what does that need to look like? Is it an experienced advisor who could come in and, keep going or start going and just kick off and running, right? Or is it somebody who has the desire to grow in this field, that you can mentor and train and really build them from the ground up and have them think about things the way that you think about things, and potentially have it be a much better experience, knowing that it's a longer term investment. We have to think through those decisions as a team. And we think we know where we've arrived at on that. I'm like 99% sure I know what this looks like now. Now it's a matter of finding the right person. I do not want to be the only advisor at Signal Wealth. I want to grow this team, but I want it to be the right people, and I'm willing to find and take the time to build that team the right way.
You've had incredible growth since you launched your firm. What do you think has fueled that?
Well, 2025 has been quite the year. We've grown by 70% over the last 11 months, and I'm super proud of that. Obviously, the market has helped some of that, but new clients, new additional assets from existing clients have fueled that. And when I look back on why this growth was the way that it was, historically, if I look back at the additional revenue I've brought on every single year, this year exceeds every year prior. And there's a few reasons for that. I think one of the biggest reasons is whenever you know somebody who's launching a business or someone that you think is doing a good job of something, you want to cheer them on. You want to support them. You want to see them grow and succeed. And I think that a lot of my clients and a lot of my professional network felt that way and referred me a lot of people. And it's just been incredible to see that level of support. Honestly, it's one of the best things that I've experienced in this whole experience is just to see the support from others. So that's a big factor. I think, honestly, the location of my office has brought in a couple of clients. People still Google financial advisors near me. And the fact that we're female owned and operated is a big leg up in that. As you know, we're a small percentage of the industry, both as advisors, but also firm owners. So that I get feedback on frequently is, oh yeah, this is why we called you. So that's been incredible. I'm super proud of that. I love being a female owned and operated firm. If I could do that forever, that would be fantastic. No offense to the men out there. I just love building something that's unique and, has some power to it. So those are the things that have been the big drivers. A lot of client referrals, a lot of COI referrals, and the office location has been helpful as well.
So in the early stages of building a business, I'm sure there's a ton of distractions. How do you stay focused on your goals?
So from day one, the question that was posed to me was, do you want a lifestyle practice or do you want to build an enterprise firm? And that is the most difficult question to answer, especially when you're first getting started. And I'm a big believer in Stephen Covey's begin with the end in mind. What are you trying to achieve ultimately at the end of everything? So I always point to the North Star, right? Like, what is my North Star? And I really had to identify that because for me, it's not about this financial metric of I want to build $1 billion firm just because I can say I have $1 billion firm. That doesn't interest me. What interests me is creating a really good experience for my clients, a really good experience for my team, and also for myself. And as long as that is maintained, I believe the revenue, the clients, the right people will come. And if we happen to get to be, $1 billion firm, great, fantastic. But I'm not going to jeopardize the experience that my clients get and my team gets for that. It's just not an interest of mine. We spend so much of our time at work, and I really want it to be a place that is meaningful for me and my employees, and a place that they feel like their opinion matters and their thoughts are important and what they bring to the table is valuable. That's a big deal. I feel like a lot of people struggle to find a place like that, and I always want to be that kind of place. Well, obviously, for my clients, we're very hands-on. We're very tailored in what we do. We don't just plug in a financial plan and spit it out and regurgitate it in 30 minutes. I mean, we're spending an enormous amount of time with our clients relative to what I think industry standard or norm may be. And I like that. It allows me to nurture the relationship that way. It allows me to really get to know their families and what's really important to them, because the planning, the investment strategy should support all of that. And you can't really get to know all of it very well unless you're in it, day in and day out with your clients. So that being my North Star is how I remove the shiny objects of, hey, you could do all these things and you're going to grow to this and you should do all this digital marketing and you should do that. And while I think there's value and power in that, I have to stay focused on what really matters and then make decisions based on that part of it.
What do you think has been the biggest driver of your success?
So something interesting that started to evolve with my daughter, she's 7, she's about to turn 8. One of the biggest reasons I was able to, even in my uncertainty and fear, starting Signal Wealth Advisors, I knew that one day she's going to experience something similar where she has to make a big choice. And I wanted to be an example for her to look back and say, well, my mom did it, so can I. And honestly, that was like one of the biggest driving factors for me to just deal with the fear, move beyond it, and move on. So now she sees me dedicated to what I'm doing, and I never complain about my job. I never complain about my place of employment. And I think that's a good example to set, right? You can be happy doing something. And she asked me recently, one of her Christmas presents, she's like, Mom, can I set up a desk at your office so I can come work with you? So we're actually setting up a little desk in the office so when she's, has time off school, she can come and hang out and work with me, so to speak. So it's starting to show, okay, this is a good thing. She's seeing the results of hard work and all of that. And
How have you addressed the challenges of operating as a solo advisor?
study groups have been crucial. So I'm a part of 2 different study groups through Dimensional Fund Advisors, and that network of people has been instrumental for me. I've joined a women's mastermind group, which is wonderful, all similar types of women who are going through similar things. Constantly building and nurturing your network has been a big piece of that. I'm not scared to ask people questions if I'm not sure about something, or if I just need to bounce ideas off of something or off of someone. More specifically, I would say where I feel the lack of having a big team supporting me is on the operational side. And I'll give you an example. Orion, we use Orion. The reporting and building reports. I've never done that, but now I have to do that if I want a report that's showing certain data and information. And we've had to identify when we're going to be able to carve out time to make that happen. So stuff like that, you just don't think about when you're with a big firm because it's already built out for you. You have to now do yourself. And I like learning all of that. I like building. You have to make time for it. And if it's a priority, you're going to just have to make it work.
Do you mind sharing how you found your mastermind group? I'm sure there's other advisors listening who are interested in something similar but don't know where to start.
Yeah. I found it on LinkedIn. There was another female advisor who she's a founder of a firm as well. She posted something on LinkedIn, inviting other women to create and join this mastermind group. So I think she got a really good turnout, and a handful of groups were established. We've only had a couple meetings at this point, but I'm excited about it. There's a lot of different skill sets within the group. The thing that we all have in common is that we are either owners or partners of our firms. So we get to share those ideas and understand some of the unique circumstances that women go through as business owners and financial advisors.
What conferences do you attend and recommend?
Yeah, so there's a few that I'm a big fan of. I love the NAPFA conference for educational reasons. It's exhausting. It's not a conference for networking necessarily. I mean, you meet great people, but the whole point is to keep up with the educational aspect of our job. Great content. You get to knock out most of your CE requirements. Love that conference for that reason. I attended Future Proof this year for the first time. Total opposite. No CE, vendors of all walks of life there, but the networking is incredible. You're meeting advisors from all over the country who are all trying to learn and do the same things. What's the other conference I like? I do like attending the dimensional conferences. It's good to just stay on top of some of the information, and it's in my backyard, so it's easy for me to go to. They do great practice management conferences. They're really good at bringing community together. I think when you are a small firm or a only advisor firm, it's important that you have other advisors you can stay connected with to bounce ideas off of.
Okay, last couple of questions. Why do you think this industry is so great for women?
I think this is the best job for women in the entire world. I really do. There's so many soft skills involved, relationships, the communication, the organization that's required, the focus on details that's required. I mean, this is perfect for women. I love it so much for that. I think that historically, this industry thinks it's all about schmoozing and the money and all of that. And it's just not. Money's super personal. It creates emotions from people all the time. And women they're just well suited for that.
And how does the industry need to evolve to attract, retain, and elevate more women?
Such a tough question. I do think it can be intimidating for the reason of it's always been a man's world. And it is evolving. It is changing. I think it requires firms to fully understand the challenges that women face as we go through our careers. Not everybody has a supportive spouse. Not everybody has good childcare available to them, and whatever that looks like. Those things matter. And if you work for a firm that understands, hey, you've got a Thanksgiving feast to go to at your daughter's elementary school, go enjoy that time. Those things need to be accepted, because the right people who want to do a really good job, they're going to knock it out of the park, especially if you give them the flexibility to also maintain their personal life as well. It's super important.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star review. It helps more women advisors discover the strategies and stories we share each week.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.